Honey, look at those beautiful clouds.
Those aren't clouds, Daddy. Those are chemtrails.
Chemtrails? What are chemtrails?
Chemical trails, Daddy, and they're very bad.
I look up to the sky. Can you tell me why? Can you tell me why? I don't wanna see you cry. I just wanna see you smile. Baby, I look up to the sky. Can you tell me why? Can you tell me why? I don't wanna see you die. I just wanna see you smile. Baby, look up in the sky and we can see clear. Blue skies are gold and white. Lines up here, them say it's natural. Me now we live them. Them say it's vital. Me now listen to them. Something strange is going on. Feel it in my heart, sensing something strong. Gotta save the future, put the rumors to rest. Gotta help the children and give it the best can. Stand around and be blind to the frost can. Taking no more, how can we relax? I look up to the sky. Can you tell me why? Can you tell me why? I don't wanna see you cry. I just wanna see you smile. Baby, I look up to the sky. Can you tell me why? Can you tell me why? I don't wanna see you die. I just wanna see you smile. Baby, living on earth, we must respect the earth. Human and animal, we all deserve the right to peace and opportunity.
This is Dane Wigington with GeoEngineeringWatch.org radio for the week of September 13th, 2014. As always, we have Russ Tanner with us today. We wouldn't have a show without Russ. Does so much behind the scenes in a lot of ways. So my gratitude to Russ always, and Greg Padlin, who same thing. Someone who's decided that the common good is what matters most, and Greg's been for a lot of years. I don't know how many. I haven't known Greg long enough, but I see his history, and he's been engaged for the common good for a very long time. So Greg's with us today as well. And this week, I want to announce that in 2 weeks from today, we have the honor of having Richard Gage on the show, Architects and Engineers 9/11 Movement for Truth. Richard Gage has shown tremendous courage and tenacity. I hope that anybody listening can get others to join the show 2 weeks from today on September 27th, and Richard Gage will update us on the effort to expose the event that changed the course of the world. It's inarguable that 9/11 did that. It gave the license to invade countries at will to those in our country, to those who run our country, and they are going to push that envelope as far as they possibly can. So 9/11 is another extremely important issue that could help pull the curtain back over a lot of issues like climate engineering. So it's important that everybody joins hands in these fights, and Richard's movement is extremely important. Many people saw probably the cold snap that happened. I think they logged snow in 6 or 7 states. And this is just the epitome of climate engineering. I hope more people in our movement recognize it for what it is. This is not natural. And I saw a lot of emails from a lot of people that are fighting climate engineering and yet somehow embracing these cold events as something natural. And I don't really understand that. And I hope people look at the data closer and examine the fact that you don't have this kind of temperature swing naturally. In fact, those same areas that just got snow are now scheduled to have record warm temperatures in about 10 to 12 days. We'll see if that plays out. But I screenshotted the current weather conditions from some of these areas, for example, in Wyoming, that were showing snow in the 40-degree range, 40-plus degree range. People should know this is not natural. It's not natural. They keep trying to push the envelope. Last year, October 4th, was the big geoengineered snowstorm in the Dakotas. This time they tried to advance that a few more weeks because that creates a lot of headlines. If you can make it snow at a record early point in the year, you're going to make a lot of headlines. And people don't even really seem to care that maybe it was 80 degrees a day or two earlier. But when you have all the media trumpeting some snowflakes falling, crushing trees, tears the branches off of them because this is a heavy, wet snow, when you nucleate at such warm temperatures, the atmosphere holds more moisture at these warmer temperatures, and it makes a very heavy concrete-like flake. It's not naturally nucleated. So when this happens, again, the trees have not dropped their leaves. It's decimating to the ecosystem. These fluctuations are extremely detrimental to the natural habitat and the creatures that live there. So this is, again, it's the epitome of weather modification insanity as they try to create these cold anomalies up and down. And what's astounding, I'm looking at an article right now from the Discovery News, and the headline is, "Global warming could cause more cold snaps." And people seem to accept whatever they're fed, but I hope they start to use their sense of reason, because this is the point we're at, is that up is down, black is white. This is the sort of Orwellian doublespeak that we face. And in this article from Discovery News, which is, again, a corporate-controlled part of the military-industrial complex to condition the population to accept whatever's thrown at them. But they've, of course, discussed the polar vortex, which was previously, if we go back 2+ years, nobody ever heard of that. So now they're conditioning us this is normal to go from perhaps 80 degrees to snow in a day. We should all just accept this as part of some climate change advancement. Again, the term itself, climate change, which came into play about 98, 99, after the warmest year ever recorded, that El Nino year. They implemented this term climate change, and the reason for that was to make it sound more acceptable or normal for radical fluctuations in weather in both directions. And they knew they were going to ramp up the climate engineering. They did. In fact, that was one of the biggest ramp-ups, if not the biggest of all, 98, 99. So they knew these anomalies would be occurring, time to condition the public to accept them. So that's where the climate change term really got implemented over the global warming term. But again, this Discovery News article, it simply goes through trying to make various points as to why we should expect more cold snaps in a warming world. Logic should kick in at some point for people, and as these fluctuations that are scheduled to come in these areas that just got snow, we'll see again if that plays out, and that should, I hope it starts to wake some people up, and I hope people realize there is no natural weather at this point, period. There's none. Just like the ozone recovery articles, I'm sure many saw those in the last week. They're absolutely saturating media with these ozone recovery articles, and it's simply a lie. It's simply a lie. It's the same lie as if, again, like the 9/11 towers coming down from carbon fires. It's completely impossible. And how could the ozone layer recover when we see only an advancement of UV radiation, bark being burned off trees, skin cancer, so on and so forth? If you read closely some of these articles, they'll talk about if this and this happens, then by 2050, 2070, ozone might recover, and they sort of spin facts in a way that to back up the basic headline, which is totally deceptive. And the simple notion that this is occurring is a complete fabrication. And data right now, people need to understand, is falsified across the board. In fact, a friend of mine with the Union of Concerned Scientists has been monitoring the actual temperatures on the ground in Redding, California, as compared to the official temperatures. And on average, there's a 4.6 degree discrepancy to the downside. So what they're reporting is, on average, 4.6 degrees less than the temperature on the ground. And we're getting the same reports from other places in the country where we're monitoring. So the data is simply false. They can manipulate whatever figures they want because all the, quote, official agencies are joined to the hip with private defense industry contractors and the criminal cabal that runs the planet. So people need, in every front, to think for themselves. And there's a huge effort right now to cause a lot of disruption in a lot of circles. I just spoke to George Barnes, who's done some work for the NHL, filming work, and there's some of these players apparently in these leagues are getting emails from other players in other leagues that are fictitious. I mean, the name is fictitious, and so it's try to cause disruption in those circles. In the same theme, we know now from some of the other anti-climate engineering activists that some emails are being posted, some from, they claim to be from myself and from Russ and from others, that are not us. They're completely fictitious sites. And this was brought to my attention actually yesterday from Madison Star Moon, who's understandably very upset when she has a bunch of emails posted on her page that aren't from the people that the emails appear to be from. So bottom line is, in that arena, in the arena of falsified data, falsified headlines, everybody needs to think for themselves. You have to analyze the situation and say, does this peg really fit in this hole? Really? Does this seem like a correct connection of the dots? And don't knee-jerk on any headline or any particular media theme unless you've really investigated it. So this being said, and again, this plugs into every arena from the unbelievable list of lies we're getting about events in Europe right now, in Ukraine, and what our country's doing about to start bombing Libya. The power cabal is completely out of control. I believe that their hand is being forced as people wake up. People are waking up fast. So their decisions are likely to get ever more erratic and dangerous. And this is the time when people need to be most vigilant. And I hope, and I'll end with this, I want to get Russ and Greg into the conversation earlier this week, but I hope people will actually figure out whatever way they can move the ball forward every single day. And I know that there's a lot of, probably not on this particular call, people that I think listen in here are more active, but encourage others around you to actually engage in the fight, to just be concerned, to just recognize what happens. That's only one step. You have to engage, and so many people aren't engaging. If there's a bad spray day, maybe you'll hear from them, maybe they'll do something, maybe they'll grab a flyer and talk to somebody, but otherwise they're just on about their business. And we simply don't have time to waste even a single day or a single moment in this fight. It is absolutely critical right now. And while we have snow falling in Idaho, we're 105 degrees in Northern California. 105, had a fire heading right toward my house several days ago. And the trees were exploding. They were simply exploding. And it's hard for me to watch this. You know, you watch trees that have somehow managed to survive drought of cataclysmic proportions, and they've somehow managed to hang on, and then you see them virtually explode from flames, and the ground that's left looks like the surface of another planet. It is absolutely scorched, sterilized soils, which creates hydrophobic soils. By the way, nothing's going to grow in some of these areas, probably ever, unless the climate somehow reaches a acceptable equilibrium again. It virtually sterilizes the landscape, and it's difficult to watch these trees that have survived through all this now succumbing to these explosions of flame that were, it sounded like a tidal wave coming at me. I mean, I was trying to give some intel to some of the CAL FIRE people because they don't know their way around the woods up here, and I was close enough to just, feel the heat and hear these trees blowing up, and you think about what little forest is left. And it's difficult to watch. It's difficult for me. Every one of those trees is a living being to me, and I struggle with watching it. I really do. And when we have the Weather Channel, and I'll pick on them in particular, I put an article out on them this week because we have these meteorologists up there lying. They're simply lying. There's no other way. There's no other word to describe it. And if you look at them closely, they seem uncomfortable with a lot of things they say. And when they're paid to lie and they're willing to do it, there's no excuse for that. None. And when they're telling us about all the engineered cold, and they forget to mention things like, gee, by the way, Canada had 600% more acreage burn this year than the 30-year norm, which is already high. By the way, California's 105-degree breaking temperature records every day. These guys are just simply paid disinformation agents. So the more we sound the alarm on that, and those, even our local meteorologists, we're working on one here to try to get them to do a public discussion of this issue. And in fact, we had somebody call Channel 7 News here in Northern California to try to address this meteorologist and try to get them to look up and do a story. And we have a lot of people calling, and their response is that our meteorologist says we are not to cover this issue. What kind of a free society is that when you have the citizens demanding some sort of public discussion with the meteorologists on which they depend, and they just slam the door on your fingers? It's not acceptable. So in this case, in our neighborhood, there's a petition going right now to either force him to have a public discussion with me and with the citizens of our county, or to disclose the fact that in spite of a huge level of interest and request, they are simply stonewalling us. So we all need to engage in these efforts. We all need to get off the bench. We all need to join the fight. So on that note, Russ, Greg, I know the fight against climate engineering is part of your daily lives. Yes? I mean, is there a day that goes by when you're not engaged in this? Greg?
There hasn't been a day in my life in the last 5 years, and I know you've been at it longer than that, Dane. Probably been at it at least double or triple that time, but there's not a day that goes by that I don't engage in. I'm spending more and more time on it because I feel that, like you do, it is the most important topic. There's other topics, but this is the one we can't control. We can't control the air we breathe. We can control the water. We can control whether we take vaccines or not. We can control the food we eat, but we surely can't control the air that we breathe unless we want to wear a gas mask like the guy on the billboard I put up last week, and really don't want to go there. So I try to do as much as I can every day, and I do something every single day, Dave.
Russ, I know that's the case with you, yeah? I mean, every day is sort of a fight and a struggle for you with your breathing, your sleeping. I mean, this is simply a daily battle, yes?
It is a daily battle. It started back when the spraying began in the area I lived in 2005, and ever since then it's been a daily struggle for me. So it's not something that I have any choice to forget. I live with it. I live with the pain and the fatigue and all of the other symptoms, and I battle every day. And I stay functional with supplementation and other health techniques, but for me it's an expensive, time-consuming, life-dragging, daily epic that just makes me angry that I have to go through this, and my tax dollars are paying for it.
Now, when that happens in this, I know a lot of people can feel like, God, I don't want to talk about all this negativity anymore. But first you have to face the issue. And too many people, I know when I was at it was the Conscious Life Expo in L.A., where George Barnes from Skyder Alert, his film won another award. And there was quite a crowd there, big crowd, and I think a lot of affluence there. And there was some interest in the climate engineering subject, and I'm grateful to those people who were interested. But there was a whole lot of other people that wanted to walk around and think happy thoughts. And that only goes so far. I'm all for optimism again, but you have to squarely face the challenge, or you have no chance of overcoming it. So in there, I believe, is the balance, again, where there is solace in not trying to, as the proverb goes, not trying to serve two masters, not trying to get this challenge out of the way so you can go back to golfing or whatever people do. When you focus squarely on something because it's the right thing to do, a lot of solace in that. To just resolve yourself to this is my post, this is my task, and this is what matters. And people can get gratification out of the fact that they are 100% committed to a cause because it matters to any and all future generations. And it's not about a personal pursuit of pleasure, not being here. I can't imagine that that's the meaning of life. A personal pursuit of pleasure. I'm not saying that we shouldn't enjoy ourselves, and when I'm with my kids, and that's the most simple and deeply rooted pleasure of all, to just see your children or any child happy and joyful. Just to watch and observe that. You don't need anything. You don't need to buy anything or go anywhere or use any resources. Just to watch that, to me, is immensely gratifying. So if we're fighting for that, for them to have that chance to laugh and to play and to breathe, doesn't that matter more than anything, no matter what? So even, Russ, I know you struggle, and I do every day too, to even go outside. I mean, I love the forest, the woods, the life that was there, and it's hard to even go outside now because it's all dying. But at the same time, so long as there's anything left alive out there, then our battle matters. And if we could stop this, if we could expose and stop the climate engineering, yes, we have huge challenges. There's no question about that. But nature is unbelievably resilient. How many people have seen from some giant boulder? Greg, you've probably seen this in your area. I think you have rocks in your mountains too. You'll see from a crack in some solid piece of rock a tree growing out. How does nature survive like that? Have you seen that, Greg?
Oh, actually, on the property where we're building a cabin right now, Dane, I hope you get to see it someday. There's about 3 or 4 trees literally growing out of massive boulders, and the root system goes completely around those rocks to the little bit of soil underneath them. It's really, really amazing. Most of the contractors that have been out there have been flabbergasted by the way these trees have grown on top of rocks.
It's inspiring, isn't it? To me, it's inspiring to see how tenacious nature is. Or if you're in the most concrete-covered urban city, you see if there's the tiniest crack in the sidewalk, life erupts from that crack. And that's how tenacious life is. Life will survive given any chance at all. And if we could bring these programs to light and to a halt and let the planet respond, who can say how robustly nature in the places where it hasn't been completely decimated will erupt and start to grow again. Russ, if you can read the call-in number, we'll try to get anybody else involved if they wish to in the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody wants to call in, the number is 718-717-8296. It's 718-717-8296. Call in.
Thanks, Russ. You can give a heads up if anybody does ring in. But the speed at which things are dying off right now is truly astounding. But the speed at which they could rebound given half a chance, I think, could be just as astounding. And right now we're at such a critical point where people do sense that something is radically wrong, that many things are radically wrong. Many are choosing to go deeper into their denial, into their under their rock, if you will. But the rocks are being turned over. You can't hide from this for long. In fact, it looks like, I mean, in the food situation, you can't grow anything here where I live. I mean, you just can't. It may be under a shade cover with a lot of excess water and soil augmentation. You know, some people are having some success, but it's very limited. And on I-5, which is the main thoroughfare through California, they're literally tearing orchards out with excavators because they're dead. The trees are dead. And even extremely hardy trees, certain species of eucalyptus, which there's some groves along this I-5 corridor, they're all dying. I mean, these are some of the hardiest trees on the planet. Gray pines, which exist in my area, are thought to be able to survive off 7 to 10 inches of rain a year. And they're dying everywhere because it's not just the lack of rain. The UV is unbelievably intense. There's no humidity. The soil is being sterilized. Where do you stop? So even these most hardy organisms are dying off. And at the same time, if there's even a shower that comes over, and of course we haven't had anything for 6 months. It's been summer here since late March. That's how bad it is. But the slightest bit of rain, the slightest bit of anything to go on in nature, again, nature rebounds very robustly. Greg, are you seeing any? You have tree frogs where you live, right?
Tree what?
Tree frogs?
Oh, yes. Yep, sure do.
Are you seeing any?
We hear them at night, but probably not to the extent that used to hear them in the past, you know, in years past. Do you have them out by you?
Well, we did. You know, 10 years ago, it sounded like the Ozarks here. You know, again, we get, I don't know what your normal annual rainfall is there, Greg. I would estimate you're probably 30 inches maybe, something in that range.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit more than that, but
maybe 35 or we're 70 where I live. And of course, in all of 2013, we had 7, 1/10.
Wow.
And you not only don't hear a single frog here, you can't find one anywhere. I mean, I don't know how they made it. I saw a couple last year, but I mean, they're gone. So, you know, what happens then? Why isn't this being reported? Where are these agency people? Again, the level of disdain and disgust I feel for a lot of these agency people, it's hard to express it. You know, your job is not why you exist. And the amount of people that are willing to do whatever they're told, so long as there's a paycheck attached, is simply astounding to me. It's absolutely astounding. But
you know, that happened.
You know, the point.
It happened to me, guys. In Maine, I contacted the Bureau of Air Quality twice and spoke to those guys up there, and I had long conversations, and they were very professional. I did this twice. This was the head of the Bureau of Air Quality in Maine, and very interested, very nice, but they just kind of fizzle out. They'll have maybe an email contact with you, send them information, and then they don't want to know anything. And if you do ask for any response from them, the only response I get is just, this is normal air traffic. That was the essential response that I got from these jets that were actually blocking out the sky every day. And so it is amazing, Dane. It's absolutely astonishing that our tax dollars are going for this kind of thing, you know.
Well, even on the tax end, it's important people understand. Yeah, they do take our money, but they can print whatever they want, or at least they could. They could have formerly. They could print whatever they want, but now, again, taking our tax dollars is part of keeping people mired in struggle, so they can't really focus on the bigger picture. Got a little background noise there, Russ, from maybe somebody calling in.
Yeah,
I am.
Yeah, people who are calling in, please just mute. Keep your phones muted if you can, and then we'll get to you in just a sec.
I'll get to call in just 1 second. So, what's important for people to understand about the power structure's hand being forced right now is because the rest of the global community has had enough. They've had enough of the dollar as a global reserve currency, the American empire. They've had enough of all of it. So right now, all these struggles, the countries that were invaded going back to Iraq, why was Saddam suddenly a target? Because he was going to start an oil bourse, an oil trading platform that did not use dollars. So he had to go down. The dollar had to be protected as the global reserve currency. This goes all back to your tax statement, Russ. Because if the global reserve currency is not the dollar, they can't print whatever they want anymore. And thus, that's a lot of what's going on with these conflicts. It's about the resources, yes, but it's also about protecting the dollar as the global reserve currency, which is, by the way, being shattered by as each passing day goes by, the dollar's losing ground. So the power structure is definitely being forced into a corner right now, and that's a very good thing.
And they can't have Libya and Syria with their own independent central banks either, Dane. Gaddafi had one of the largest private caches of gold in the world, and that was another reason that they had to take him down.
Lots of layers to the onion. Yes, lots of layers, and a lot that the American public has no clue about. They think we're out there spreading freedom and democracy. what an incredibly naive notion that is. So,
anybody that won't toe the line on the world banking, world government and world banking new world order plan, those countries have to be taken down.
Well, that's been the plan, but I think now the opposition is growing to the point where they can't put it down, and the power structure is extremely volatile and dangerous right now. So if there's one issue that we could expose that would truly pull the curtain back, would be the global climate engineering programs that unite everybody, and I think follow closely, in parallel with the 9/11 issue. If that curtain could be pulled back as well, it would shatter people's paradigms. So both very important. Again, I look forward to the show with Richard Gage. We'll give him the mic for as long as he wants. So, Russ, you sound like you have somebody online there, buddy.
Yeah, we do have callers lined up to come in, and I would encourage people that, government serves those who they fear, and the government needs to fear the people. They need to know that if they don't do their job, they're going to be held accountable for what they do. So people have a tremendous amount of power and should let their representatives know. We have a caller whose number ends in 73. Who are we speaking with?
Hello.
Caller, with your phone number that ends in 73. Are you still with us?
I believe that's me.
Okay, go ahead.
Hello. My name's Ariel. I live in Plymouth County, California, right at Lake Almanor. And for the last year or so, I've been just incessantly handing out GeoEngineering Watch flyers and anything I can get my hands on, photocopying them. Just really trying to help people around here realize what's going on. Recently, I went back to my college professors in Quincy, who, I got my degree in environmental studies and was very passionate about the global warming issue at the time. I was never told anything about chemtrails or geoengineering or the truth. So I recently went back to my professors and have asked them to watch your DVDs, which I received in Reading, and to look at the website and tell me what they think. And my head professor is very convinced. She says she's going to start teaching a little differently, and she's going to make room for the geoengineering plight in her classes. And what I'm wondering is, what would we have to do to ask you to come to Quincy, California, and host one of your presentations at our town hall theater?
If you can reach me off air, Russ, in fact, I don't know if you can get give my personal contact. It's Ellie, right?
Ariel.
Ariel, I'm sorry, Ariel. I apologize. I couldn't quite hear you when you cut in because there's somebody else on the line. Can you hear that, Russ?
Yeah, I can hear it. Go. Yeah.
That's some background, so I'm sorry, Ariel. I didn't quite hear the background noise.
Yeah.
Ariel, I definitely would like to talk to you. In fact, Russ, I don't know if you can keep Ariel online or get her phone number, and I'll call her back after the show.
Yeah, Ariel can just email me at russ@globalskywatch.com, and I will forward to you, Dane. You want to do that?
Yeah, you can give her my personal contact. Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
Ariel, it's extremely encouraging to hear what you just said. Extremely encouraging, and that kind of effort.
So much, Dane.
That kind of effort is what matters so much to start that kind of spot fire with that kind of person in that kind of setting. If everybody was doing that, we would have this issue out in the open already. So, I mean, that's an
Thank
example.
you so very much, and I'm very excited. She watched the movie, and she called me crying, and I told her that I was going to do whatever I could on my end to get hold of you. So I feel very inspired myself.
I'll do whatever I can to help that effort and materials and so forth. And this is for anybody listening or anybody that for those listening, anybody that that might have the kind of connections that Ariel has, that these kind of people that can be reached out to, contacted, and that kind of level of awareness started. That can go exponential so quickly. In the mathematical equation I've used a lot of people have probably heard it, but it's important to remember if someone did what Ariel did on the first day of a 30-day month, if she told 2 people who got it and they told 2 the second day and so forth throughout the month, that's 5.5 million at the end of 30 days.
Paying it forward.
Exactly.
Yeah, I just remember how inspired I was at school and how many seeds she planted. This woman is amazing, and if this seed had been planted from the beginning, how much farther I would be. And she said she's going to start planting that seed, so I'm very, very excited about that. I wish I could afford to go back to school.
That's the kind of news we need. And even at this late date, with all the damage that's been done to our biosphere, if life has a chance, it will spring back. And this insanity in our skies simply has to be stopped. And if everybody takes that kind of initiative as you took, without giving up, because I'm sure, Ariel, you've had a lot of days where it just felt like you're pounding your head against the sidewalk, right?
Oh, yes and no. I mean, I'm usually pretty hopeful, but I'm worried because right here, Lake Almanor, where I live, is 1/2 of the headwaters of the entire California Water Project. And it's not a healthy lake. It is not a healthy, happy lake at all. And our trees are just falling over. Not just dying, but falling over.
Well, the root systems, what we've seen with the fact that happens when the artificial nucleated snows come in, they stick to the trees, the wind blows and the snow doesn't come off. It's like a giant sail, pushes the trees over. But the effect of the bioavailable metals in the root system seems to be horrific. It also starts fungal infections, which start to decrease root viability and strength, and everything falls over, dies, burns up.
And
all
the
the
trees
above.
behind my house, some of the cedars are like 4 feet wide. I've never seen them like this before. So beautiful. And then they just fall over. And there's something has to be done. And so thank you, Dane, for all your effort and for inspiring the rest of us. And I'm definitely going to be sending Russ my contact, and I hope to hear from you.
You just inspired me. I'll reach you after the show today, Ellie. Thank you very, very much for calling in. Thank you for all you've done.
All right.
Yeah, and thank you. And I would add that the tremendous amount of power that we have in spreading the word to other people. If we are all suffering, our lives are all being shortened by breathing aerosols. This is just critical. Caller with your phone number that ends in 73. Welcome. Who are we speaking with? Caller? Yep, that's you. How are you? Who are we speaking with? Hello, you there, caller? Caller with your phone number that ends in 73. You with us? Last chance. Okay, Vincent, are you with us?
Hey guys, good to be listening to you. Sorry, that's me with the landline back here making that noise with no mute button. I apologize. I wanted to make a request and and then comment on observations and ask y'all's opinion. First of all, if you're listening and if you're on Facebook, please share every week and to your timeline and spread it around and get more people here listening, so we can spread the word. I'm in Ozark, so Dane. Yeah,
I couldn't hear. I couldn't hear who we were talking to. I'm sorry, because I couldn't hear Russ when he said. I'm sorry. Who are we speaking with?
Hey, this is Vince.
Vince, how are you, Vince? I'm sorry. Go ahead. I got you now. And your suggestion, by the way, Vince, on people sharing on Facebook. Thanks for saying that, because a lot of people are just simply not taking the time to help spread the data around, and we need everybody to join in. We need to sound the alarm. So continue on.
Yeah.
Good point.
And a reminder, I will be adding, when the archive comes up, I'll add the archive, and then it goes to YouTube. So if you see this post in one of the geoengineering groups on Facebook or on Dane or Russ's page, please share from there, because the message is still there. People can still hear what's being said today on the archive.
Correct.
So, but anyways, I'm here in the Ozarks, and last week somebody from up in Detroit made an observation that bird population seems to be down. Now, if you may hear tree frogs in the background from me here, but I noticed after that I started taking an observation, and I was gone out west for about 8 months, and I've only been back just a month or so now. But so I wasn't really in tune with the environment around here. But there is a lot. There's hardly any birds. You see the bigger ones, the vultures and the crows, woodpeckers. You see some sparrows and hummingbirds, but man, most of I'm not seeing any birds hardly at all. The bug population's kind of crazy too, and the granddaddy longlegs are just like everywhere. We have trees dying here too, in lower numbers than out west. And I missed a summer here that was, they say, one of the coolest in quite some time, many decades. And before I left and when I got back, I made the same observations in the sky, and these low-flying aircraft that, I would estimate anywhere upward of 8,000 to maybe 16,000 feet emitting these trails behind them.
And that's quite low for people who don't know, Vince. I mean, I agree with what you're saying, point for point. Just for people who don't know, those are very low altitudes. I mean, normal commercial traffic is twice that high. They're up at mid 35,000 foot range, and so just for those who don't know, that's very low.
Mainly like 39,000 feet, and used to what they called the contrail formation. It was very specific at approximately 40,000 feet and about 40 degrees below 0 Celsius. So there's all types of anomalies there, and different types that we're seeing now. I'm looking at the video that you posted with the the 4 trails, and then the sprayer going on and off behind the tail. Very interesting, and I've seen that, and it's been shared all over Facebook. So kudos. Anyways, hey,
my thanks to Tom Anderson for Tom Anderson, who I want to thank him directly. That's who shot that vid, and he certainly did a great job in doing that. So I just want to give thanks to him.
Hey, appreciate you guys. I just want to call in with some observations from the Ozarks here, and appreciate you guys.
Hey, Vince, thank you very much for that. And to back up what you're saying on the birds here in Northern California, I mean, they've just about crashed. The only birds you do see is a few of the bigger, vultures. And in fact, I might have mentioned on an earlier show that I was in the woods 2 weeks ago, and there was a bald eagle right above me that seemed like it was begging for food, and I've never encountered anything like that. And I did catch a bass, throw it up on the bank. I mean, it's in the middle of nowhere out here. It's not like he's in some urban area and domesticated. And he took that fish, and I mean, that is heartbreaking. These things, the birds don't have anything to eat. So, of course, the populations are going to crash as well. So, and we won't be far behind. If we don't deal with the situation, we won't be far behind. So,
I really find the insect issue really noticeable. Dane, Russ brought it up here a couple weeks ago about not seeing very many insects on the front of his car and taking a road trip. And I find that because we're a lot of times driving late at night. And I remember in years past, I'm kind of a car guy, so I keep my car clean, and it took a while to clean your bumpers off. I mean, they actually made products to take the bugs off your bumpers. And lately, when I wash my car, you hardly get any bugs at all on the front of your bumper, and that's, I think, a pretty good indication for the common person that doesn't, pay real close attention when they wash their car. Pay attention to what's on the front of your car and your windshield.
Yeah, it's a great indication, Greg. I mean, we know the terrestrial insects are crashing, aquatic insects are crashing in Northern California. as measured by, again, U.S. Forest Service biologists, we've seen a 90% decline. 90. It's a virtual crash. I mean, right now, our society, the human race, is simply asleep at the wheel. I mean, it's people are in a virtual state of a coma while the house is burning down around them. It's astounding. But the more seeds we plant right now, when that awakening is forced, and it will be forced soon, what we have sown, the seeds we have sown will matter. They will have to sprout, and it can change the flavor of what we face still. So it still matters. Russ, if anybody waiting for us?
Yeah, we got more people in the queue, but there's more room. If you want to call in, the number is 718-717-8296. That's 718-717-8296. Please call in. We have a couple spaces open for anyone who wants to call. Also, somebody in the chat room mentioned that we should direct people, if you want to chat, you can go to the letters ucy.tv. That's ucy.tv, and then look for the GeoEngineering Watch show from the list of shows. And there's a big chat room, very busy chat room with a lot of good people in there. So we do have another caller. We do have a couple more callers waiting to speak. Caller with your number that ends in 39. Who are we speaking with?
Hi. I'm calling from Michigan. I have a relative that works for Boeing. He's actually a meteorologist and an electronic engineer there. And he's visiting. I haven't seen him in a couple of years. We're real close relatives. And I want to know what I can do to wake him up, or would it be impossible for someone of that caliber to not know what's going on there?
You know, that's a tough question. And I'm sorry, who am I speaking with?
My name is Susan.
Hi, Susan. Thanks for calling in. This is Dane, and I would show film footage, and I would have him answer the questions instead of trying to tell him data. I think it's always more effective to have a person like that answer the questions for you. You know, show, for example, a video. We have videos of KC-10s, C-17 Globemasters spraying at altitude where they're clearly turning on and off, nozzles visible. Some of those films are on the front page of GeoEngineering Watch. I would make him ask the questions, have him watch and say, what do you think this is? And if they excuse it away, then show, for example, there's a document from 1966. If you Google 1966 government document geoengineering, you'll find something I found on the NASA archives, 80 pages long, presidential document, outlines the scope and scale of these programs as of 1966. 10 major universities involved, about the same number of federal agencies, budgets in the hundreds of millions of dollars. Throw something like that at them and say, can you explain this? And, you know, instead of you trying to lead the communication, put the burden on their back and have them start explaining things. And keep in mind, there's not much stronger than normalcy bias and human denial. So, you know, the response you get will depend on how this person is wired. But I would try to keep them answering the questions for you.
Okay, yeah, that makes really good sense to do it that way. It's really frightening to imagine that he might be part of that.
Well, a lot of these people feel that they're just being told to do one certain job, and they seem to rationalize it, and there's an awful lot of people involved in this. I mean, an awful lot, directly or indirectly, and they're compartmentalized. And I think I mentioned before, I spoke to a KC-135 pilot who didn't really know what he was doing up there, and when he went back to ask questions, the last news I got of him, from a mutual friend, he was medicated behind a desk. So apparently asking questions was the wrong thing for him to do. And they're quite tenacious about defending and hiding these programs. I just got an email from Sweden, from a group there that's quite organized and trying to get this issue to light. And they are being absolutely hammered by local authorities, and they do not want this coming out. And also the candidate for the Green Party there in Sweden has basically been banned from the ballot because she wants to address this issue. So they'll try to hide it till the last moment. But again, some things can't be hidden much longer. And I would just try to do that, have some good, compelling data, and have him answer the questions, keep him on his heels, and make him think. Make him think. Make him give you answers instead of him making you give answers to him.
That sounds like an excellent idea. And let's see the point on the bugs. I drive a lot for my job. I had a bug hit the windshield on Wednesday, and it was like, that was the first bug that I've killed on my windshield all summer, and it was just very strange because you don't think about that. But I think that's a way we can get other people to engage, because it was the first bug. It's September. I drive all the time, and I killed one bug on my windshield.
Pretty alarming stuff that we're facing. But again, if everybody doesn't go into shock and become ineffective, if we all keep our wits about us and share, as we had the other caller do there, that and what she's reached with her university professors and so forth, if we all just think constructively and effectively and don't lose heart, we can have a radical leap in the right direction if we just stay glued together.
Sounds like a plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for calling in.
Great. Yeah, we've got a lot of callers lined up here. Also want to remind people that I've seen 3 livelihood where the trails stopped at low altitudes and then and the very next day we're all high altitudes and we're all short. So they're obviously trying to hide this from the public. It's an obvious, why else would they do that? This would go on for years at low altitudes, and all of a sudden one day they all go high and short, except for about 4 to 6 days a month, but the rest of the month completely change. Caller, phone number ends in 62. Welcome to the show. Who are we speaking with?
Hey guys, this is Ty. What's up? How you guys doing this weekend?
How are you?
All right. I'm great.
Can y'all hear me?
Go ahead.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Yep, you're coming through loud and clear. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah. I got a couple of quick points to make. I realize there's a lot of callers, so I'll try to be quick. This is just a statement. Y'all need to comment on this, but I think it's interesting. I'm kind of disappointed about Michael Murphy, what he just wanted to say about Russ and Dane. I had a lot of respect for him, what he's been doing for the cause. Hopefully he can get over his, little problem. I didn't want to think that, he had any kind of problem like that, but after hearing what he said about Dane and Russ, you almost had to be high on something after his statement. So
I think the best thing we can do for, and I appreciate the concern, but I think the best thing we can do for all of us is to leave this subject behind and press on with the battle. And certainly I'm not, I wish none of this would have happened, or the substances or the components involved. I wish none of this circumstance would have happened, and things would have pressed on. But I think right now our best defense is to completely. I got a little background noise going there, but I think if we move on with the battle at hand, that's our best bet. If we all focus on moving forward and let everything settle in where it's supposed to, if we just keep our eye on the ball, focus on the fight. Hope the best for anybody involved. It's maybe having some issues right now. We'll hope for the best for them, but in the meantime, we all need to just move straight forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to send another kudos to Dane. I mean, Dane doesn't know me from squat, and he sent me a package and paid out of his own money to pay for the package. So anybody listening, that should tell you right then and there, what kind of person Dane is and what he's doing in the struggle. Dane, I talked to you before about some other countries that might not be on board with the whole GeoEngineering thing. We're in the process of getting passports, and we're going to go check out some countries in South America. We're really for real about this stuff, and we watch it every day. We've accepted the new reality. That is our reality, and I just want to know. I have another point to make after this, but I just want to know from y'all. And I realize, Dane, you and Russ and Palin are knee-deep in the fight. But, I mean, at some point, like you said before, I mean, the Southern Hemisphere is going to be a more habitable place.
Mathematically speaking, on the current trajectory, and I stress to people, I want to back up, too, on the materials. And, thanks for putting those to use. And my thanks to, Greg is one person who's helped me to be able to do that. So my gratitude would go to Greg then for, and John Knight, another person that's helped me to be able to send materials out. But back to the situation on where the most habitable place is likely to be for the long run. Southern Hemisphere, mathematically speaking, looks like it would sustain life for 10 to 15 years longer than the Northern Hemisphere, depending on where you're at. Now, the bottom line is, let's hope that we can stop climate engineering so that this equation might become moot, because right now, mathematically, the numbers aren't good. They're not good at all. And many people are still trained to think that we're talking about something 3-4 centuries out. We're talking about something mathematically a couple decades out for the Northern Hemisphere not to support life. Southern Hemisphere perhaps 2045, something like that, Northern Hemisphere 2030. That's not very long. So we have to change directions immediately. I mean, we're in free fall right now. So I hope we all, instead of looking at how close the cliff is, let's look at how we need to change direction so we don't hit the cliff. And that's something we all need to do. So appreciate what you're doing to sound the alarm, Ty. Any more questions before we try to grab another call?
Yeah, just really quick. You know, I know that Fallon put up the billboard about the gas mask. Well, every time I drive, I usually have about a 2-hour drive every morning to work, and the amount of geoengineering that's going on, I don't wear a mask for that drive. I wear a notch filter mask. I would get a lot of crazy looks from people sometimes, but I don't really care. I figure we're in a situation where less is best. And, you know, when I'm driving with my windows down, you know, you can see the geoengineering going on. Obviously, we're taking in a plethora of things. And, you know, I don't care what people think. I'm trying to protect my own health. My kids play sports this year. It's the first year that my kids aren't going to play football. Well, they're not playing football for the school. They're both starters, but we're not doing football because, number one, I don't want them out there being exposed to the plethora of things that they're spraying, and I don't want me and my family sitting in the stands having to suck that in. We're doing no sport.
Let the school people know why you're not playing. You know, give them some flyers and let them know why. Because right now, again, we live in a society that is so hypocritical, it's beyond belief, where you have, for example, schools showing concern about one certain problem, you know, that's maybe meaningless, while at the same time they ignore the sort of things that are in the air and being inhaled. It's just like state agencies ignore that. I mean, the system is designed to hide the biggest problems, and it's up to the individual to take measures to prevent it. So I understand what you're doing, Ty. Maybe just let the school know why you're doing what you're doing, and keep sounding the alarm. And thanks for putting those materials to use. And we're going to grab one or two more calls if we can, real quick. And me going, hey, thanks for everything you're doing to help us sound the alarm.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dane. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you, Ty, so much. This is Russ. I just want to thank you for the package. I'm going to have photos of that put up soon, so I really appreciate all that you're doing. Let's see if we can squeeze in maybe 3 more callers. Caller with the phone number that ends in 40. You're on with us now. What's your name?
It's Steve Chamberlain, guys, from Alaska. How you doing?
Hey, Steve. How are you doing?
Real good. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the bugs and the trees. There's no mosquitoes left here in my area. Well,
that's saying a lot, isn't it? I mean,
no, they're gone.
That's a state bird up in Alaska, isn't it, Steve?
Yeah, it is unbelievable. It really is the state bird, and they're gone. This is moose season. I usually hunt moose every year, and there's always mosquitoes when we're out moose hunting in August and September. And we haven't had a frost here yet. Where I am.
Yeah, how's the temps up there overall? Because, you know, they're locked into the same pattern. What we see is 2 things that affect the whole West Coast pattern. When they're trying to push back the Kelvin wave, which is the warm water surfacing in the Pacific, they're trying to, for the trade winds, to push that back. They successfully push back the biggest Kelvin wave ever in spring. And the second El Nino began to surface, second Kelvin wave, they're pushing that back. And also, they're trying to start the melt season in the Arctic. So that appears directly tied with the frying of the West. So you guys have been far above normal temperatures in Alaska, yeah?
Far above, especially at night. At night,
yeah.
We're still hanging in the mid-50s, and we should be down in the low 40s, even upper 30s at this point. And
now, on that point,
our temperatures aren't dropping at night; they're just not dropping.
This is what people need to understand. As you have methane, and I sent you to the chat room. Maybe you could send it out. The chart on the methane. As methane fills the atmosphere, it will cause nighttime low temperatures to escalate twice as fast as daytime highs, because that's the whole mechanics behind the greenhouse effect. The heat does not escape at night. So, and the climate engineering is making it worse, not better. And again, this is where the idiocracy of these programs should be so apparent. But whatever heat you might reflect by putting this toxic stuff in the sky, of course, shredding the ozone layer, disrupting hydrological cycle, and poisoning everything, you're also trapping heat, correct? That's a very simple understanding. And after 9/11, we saw, yes, the daytime highs went up in those 2 days after 9/11 when all the air traffic was grounded over the U.S., but the nighttime lows went down. And so this is, again, the whole geoengineering premise. There's not a shred of good in this. It's not for the common good. It's not benevolent. Mm-hmm. And that's what everybody needs to understand that's in the academic community when they try to justify this insanity. There's no good in it. None. Go ahead, Steve.
You know, we're not seeing any sun anymore. Lately, in the last 3 weeks, I've seen just a few open blue patches. So that's it. So there's I can see over the Bering Sea and North Pacific these masses of this stuff that are just swirling around, floating around out there, and they slowly get fed up into Alaska. So we constantly have this overcast of whatever they're spraying.
Steve, everybody was doing what you were doing, you know, the initiative you took on the pizza boxes and so forth and everything you're doing. And,
still doing it.
Well, you know, if everybody took that kind of initiative, and that's what I'm talking about when I say people need to get up off the bench, because so many people that claim to care about this issue are not doing anything except maybe 1 or 2 days a month, and that's not going to get the job done.
You know,
so
heading into this election cycle, I just wanted to say that I'm contacting all these people that are running for office ahead of time. I'm trying to get to their, whenever they speak or they have their town hall meetings, I'm trying to get to those and get to them.
Try to do that at the same time.
My vote.
At the same time, we have to wake up the grassroots people, because these elected officials don't give a damn. I just got a letter back from the congressional rep, and her basic premise was this: unless or until, Dane, you can supply us with every single fact, who's doing it, where they're doing it from, where the material, I mean, everything. You know, that's like saying, don't call the police if you find a body murdered in the street with, 10 bullets in its back, unless you can name where the gun came from, who owned the gun, who the person was that shot him. I mean, this is how ludicrous it is. So these elected officials are not going to do a damn thing. It's good to badger them, but at the same time, we have to wake up the whole village. The whole village.
They need to allow us to take a delegation of a group of our people who are in this fight. Let us go to Eielson Air Force Base for a day or two.
The only way we're going to do this, the only way we're going to stop this, we have to get critical mass of awareness where the entire population is screaming at the top of their lungs. That's the only way forward. We have to reach critical mass. So, I mean, what you're doing matters, and badgering these people matters. I just did it with a congressman. I posted that. But at the same time, we have to wake up those groups like the caller at the beginning of the show did. So, hey, Steve, thanks for everything you're doing. Forgive me. I'm going to try to grab 1 or 2 more people that are hanging right now. There you go. Thank you. Russ?
All right, thank you, guys. We got 2 minutes for 2 more callers. Caller with your number that ends in 14. Who are we speaking with?
Hello, this is Ariel again from Blue County.
Hi.
I had one thing that I would just really like to add, and that is, you know, it's hard to fight with all of the aluminum and other things in our brain. I've found one product that really, really helps. It's called Zeolite by Zeoforce, and it is a volcanic clay. You can look it up online. It has immense cation exchange, and it cleanses heavy metals, radioactive material, and the like from your body. Basically,
Zeolite's a good product. Zeolite is a good product.
I take it every single day, and I give it to both of my children, whether they want it or not. And I just wanted to say on air to everyone who's listening, you know, when it gets really rough, think about it. You can help your own self be stronger.
Yeah, Zeolite is a good product. Ariel, since you're on the line, can you hang on just a few minutes till we get off the air? Can you hang with us? Okay, I want to talk to you after two. Russ, and I will confirm, Zeolite is a good product from everything I've researched on that. Russ, anybody else?
Yeah, we've only got seconds left. Caller with the number that ends in 96. Who are we speaking with?
Hi, this is Christina, formerly New Orleans, now in Northern California here. And I wanted to mention the bugs. I hadn't thought of that, but I just drove a few months back, and I really hadn't paid that much attention. But now that you brought that up, I definitely noticed less. I had a few, but barely just a few. And Dane, when you said the onion, that's just what I was telling people this recently. I've been describing it as the onion. And congratulations on Mount Shasta, the progress there with the Board of Supervisors. And Ariel, her progress is very inspiring and encouraging. And the onion, I've been going like, yes, it's massive. There's so many layers. They're pungent and rotten, but let's take off the top layer just as you did the contamination issue. And also, I know in 2 weeks it's the Global Day Against Geoengineering. Coincidentally, it's also 100,000 Poets, Artists, Musicians for Change Day, and I happen to have some poems. I don't know if I'm going to get to speak them, but there's an event here in Humboldt County, and I am planning to have some flyers and be present.
All right, thanks for helping us sound the alarm. Let's go ahead.
Thank you so much. This is GeoEngineering Watch Radio, UCY.tv. We're here every Saturday at 12 noon Pacific Time, 3 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll see you next week at UCY.tv.